Welcome back everyone, this is MandoAllDay, back with another video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Power Ring from the Crime Syndicate. This is the Starro build-up figure wave, and this is going to be the final one. I'll say final one because we previously had Ultraman, Superwoman, and what's his name? I think it's Owlman. I believe it's Owlman. And of course, this is a Target exclusive. So as always, we're going to be taking a look at the figure itself in terms of the articulation, sculpture, and paint, and if it's worth your purchase or not. But before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button to not support channel, but to keep up to date and watch videos like this. So let's take a look at the box. In front of the box looks like the side, the back, the other side, top, and bottom. Alright, now let's take a look at the figure outside the box. As always, it'll come with a card. This is what the front of the card looks like. The back of the card. It does come with a little baby Starro, so this is the front of it. As previous one, they look very similar. They're pretty detailed, which I really like. I do like the glossy eye, kind of creepy looking. And then the other side, you got more detail. So really cool detail, which I really like. These little mini Starros. And of course, well, it comes with a regular stand. And of course, it does come with the final piece for Starro. You can see that right here is the final piece, and they're gonna have them assembled. And don't worry, I'll be talking about this figure soon. But again, it comes with the final piece for Starro. So let's take a look at Power Ring. And I gotta say, the head sculpture looks really cool, man. I really like the detail. I do like the white eyes. I'm a sucker for white eyes. I do like that green. I wish this green was similar to the chest right here, because this is more of like a glossy green. I wish this was here green as well too. But nonetheless, so good head sculpture design. The detail. Look at this frown right there. The skin. Again, very little detail. Unfortunately, mine has some blemishes. You can see that right there. I don't know what it is. There's other parts of the figure where it has some blemishes, so it could be just mine. Hopefully it's mine, because if it's everyone else's, which is not a good thing, but nonetheless, so the head sculpture looks good. The paint is good. You got a little paint on the ears. Again, it looks good. A clean looking head sculpture. Head articulation, good. Up, down, good. So articulation is good. The paint, again, looks good. Not much like paint, but the sculpture design is good and clean looking. I really dig the headpiece, man. I really like this one. Shoulder articulation, good. Bicep, good. Elbows, good. Wrist, good. Torso, it's okay. Not the greatest, but it'll do the job. So in terms of articulation on the arm, it's good. Torso, not the greatest, but you got a lot of detail on this figure. I do like the sculpture design right there, especially the green outline, which looks really cool. Then you, of course, you have the green ring right there. And if you might be wondering, why is it on his right hand or his left arm when it should be right? If you know about the Crime Syndicate, then you know why. If not, don't worry, I'll talk about it in a bit. But overall, in terms of the upper body, it looks good. I do like this armor piece. I like that it's green, but it's not like a matte green. It's like a shiny green to it. You guys can see that? See that right there? Which I really like. It's clean looking. The back of it looks like, I don't know if it's cracked or not. If you guys can see that right there. It makes it look like it's cracked. Probably not, but cool little like green lantern shoulder piece. And of course, you have the Power Ring logo. And again, though, I really like it. I like the sculpture design. It looks good. It does look similar to another figure, which I'll talk about in a bit. But the sculpture design looks good. I really dig it. The green outline looks good too. And the more I look at it, I'm like, man, this is a really cool looking figure. Very subtle green outlines, but again, it looks really good. And especially the upper body. And I'll talk about that in a bit, why I say upper body. But overall, really good looking figure, man. I really like this figure. There's the sculpture design, this massive bicep and tricep, shoulder pieces, the abdomen. Very defined figure, very musculent, Power Ring figure, man. It looks really good. The back looks kind of weak. I wish there was more muscle tone. But apart from that, looking good, man. I really dig it. Take a look at the lower body. Leg articulation, good. Knees, good. Ankles, good. And of course, toes, good. So in terms of the leg articulation, they're always good as always. And in terms of the sculpture, again, you definitely have some potential to be even better. Now, as I mentioned, in terms of the upper body, the green outline, I really like it. I wish it was more present on the legs. So there's a green outline here on the thigh, and a little bit in the back, but nothing on the lower leg. You see that? Like, upper body has a green outline, which really does pop if you look at it from the upper body top, but on lower body, it's just there on the thigh, and that's pretty much it. And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The sculpture design, again, there's a lot of detail on the leg. You got the same kind of texture that's here, also present on the thigh, and you got the little armor piece right here too. Again, very defined sculpture design, which I really, really, really like. And I know it looks similar to another figure, which we'll talk about in a bit. So overall, the lower body, it looks good with potential to be really, really good. It's just, why did they just stop here? Why didn't they just maybe add some little stuff here? But again, that's just probably just me being nitpicking. But overall, really, really cool figure, man. I really like this figure. Now, the main question is this worth the purchase? Well, if you want to get Starro Build-A-Figure, you do have to get this one. But if this one was sold by itself, meaning if this one was sold without a Build-A-Figure by itself, is this worth your purchase? Personally, I would say yeah, man. I think for $20, a really cool looking figure. Unfortunately, mine does have some blemishes, as I mentioned here on the head, a little bit on the back. I don't know, you guys can see that right there. And again, nothing too drastic. It's just something that I noticed. I'm like, ah, oh, darn it, why does it have to be mine? But the main question, like I said, is this worth your purchase? I think if this was sold for $20 by itself, I think it's definitely worth the purchase. I think for $20 for such a cool looking figure, I think it's a fair price. I think it looks good. I would say maybe wait for a sale, but again, I really like the figure. It looks good, looks clean. The green upper body looks good, and again, that paint on the armor, on the shoulder pieces, looks really, really good and really pops. And I'll show you guys in comparison to some other figures, but you can see what I'm referring to, how the paint looks really good though. So to me, I really like the figure. I would definitely say get it for maybe retail price, but personally, I would maybe just wait a little bit just for our sale, because Christmas, it is coming around soon, and also Thanksgiving is coming around soon, so you might even get this on sale. But nonetheless though, really cool figure. I recommend it. Thumbs up for me for Power Ring. Here we have Jon Stewart, and of course Power Ring, and really cool looking. Both look really, really cool, but as I mentioned, that paint on the green on his shoulder piece looks really good when you compare it to this one. So look at Jon Stewart. Look at the green. It doesn't really pop. It looks good, but it doesn't really pop compared to this. That's what I like about this Green Lantern, or Power Ring, excuse me, because that green just pops, and you do a comparison with Jon Stewart, again, you can see it. But I will say though, Jon Stewart is very detailed, a lot of sculpture design, and of course, it comes with a cool looking accessory. So don't hate on Jon Stewart. I'm not hating on him, I'm just saying little things like the paint really does pop, man. But the sculpture design on Jon Stewart really looks very, very cool, man. I really dig it. There's a little face off. And again, just look at the sculpture design, the little detail, the Green Lantern logo there, the arms and the legs. A lot of detailed sculpture design on Jon Stewart. Here we have not Jon Stewart. Here we have Hal Jordan, and of course Power Ring. Again, similar to Jon Stewart in terms of the green. Look at Hal Jordan's green and compare to this one. Again, just look at the paint. They both look good, don't get me wrong, but the paint of this, the green paint, just really does pop and looks really cool. But again, though, there's a lot of detail on Hal Jordan, though. So if you're looking like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go for this one, but you got to look at the detail. So it's one of those with these Green Lantern figures, either you get a lot of sculpture design, the paint's kind of okay, or you get less sculpture design, but you get really good paint. So regardless, though, they both look really good, and I'm glad they made both Power Ring and, of course, Hal Jordan, which I wish they made a Hal Jordan solo as opposed to 2-pack, but it is what it is, right? Now here we have Parallax. This is the Walmart exclusive Parallax, and as I mentioned earlier, some of the parts here for Power Ring does look similar to Parallax. The obvious one is going to be, if you see the silver pieces right here, similar. It's on actually on Power Ring as well too. So pretty much, if you really think about it, it's kind of a repaint. I say kind of because there are some subtle differences, which we'll talk about in a bit. But in terms of the lower body, again, you got that little circle right here, and you got the little pieces right here on the leg for Parallax, and also the design right here on the legs is also present on power ring. You can see that right here, the detail, little circle thing, and of course, a little armor thing. The only difference is this is just painted black, excuse me. So that's a big difference. Also, not a difference, it's similarities. Also, this has the same abdomen, same chest per se, same arm. Obviously, the main difference is going to be the paint. And this one does have, the power ring does have a different logo compared to that. Also, the neck is cut right there. You can see it in power ring. Parallax doesn't have it. It's all around his neck. And of course, the shoulder pieces are different. Here's the shoulder pieces for Parallax. So you can see the little round thing. And power ring is just plain solid, smooth shoulder pieces. And of course, power ring is pointy shoulder pieces. This one's kind of not so much pointy. So there are some differences, but there's a lot of similarities. And of course, the arm detail also present on Parallax. So regardless, though, they both look good. But to me, if you were to ask me which one do I prefer, I'm going to go for Parallax, man. This Walmart exclusive looks really good. The fact that it's a Walmart exclusive, and if you're McFarlane, you've been purchasing McFarlane figures for some time, you know Walmart is probably one of the worst for pre-orders. But I was lucky able to get Parallax, and if you're still hunting for Parallax, I feel sorry for you. I hope you do find him, because it took me a while to get him, but here he is. So to me, if you were to ask me which one I prefer, Power Ring or Parallax, definitely go for the Parallax. A lot of detail. Here we have Atrocitus. This is from the Build-A-Figure for the Blackest Night, and you can definitely see the height comparison of Atrocitus to Power Ring. They both look good, fantastic looking figures, but man, the height and the face sculpts from Parallax on Atrocitus really does stand out. You can definitely see it right here too. And we'll have him do a little face off right here. You can see the height comparison with Power Ring and Atrocitus. Really cool looking Build-A-Figure. And I'm glad they made him. I'm glad they made Atrocitus. I was concerned they were going to do Atrocitus like a regular size figure, but they did a Build-A-Figure, and McFarlane nailed Atrocitus. Now, you might be wondering, why do I have this omnibus? So I have it, as I mentioned earlier, that if you want to know more about this, the Crime Syndicate, and a little bit more of the lore, the backstory behind each character, definitely recommend getting this Volume 2. I would recommend getting Volume 1 as well too, but personally, Volume 2 does talk about the Crime Syndicate and goes into detail in terms of the backstory of Superwoman, Ultraman, Owlman, and mainly like I said, the Crime Syndicate group. And it talks about a little bit of the lore, and in the omnibus, it does talk about why the Power Ring is the opposite. And it's pretty obvious, but I'm not going to talk about it too much. I don't want to spoil anything. But nonetheless, so really, really good stories in here with the Crime Syndicate and, of course, the Dark Side War. And, of course, talks about the history of the Crime Syndicate and so forth. And again, really, really recommend getting this one. And I guarantee you, once you read this, you're going to appreciate the Crime Syndicate characters. Of course, the video wouldn't be complete without including the rest of the Crime Syndicate. So we have Owlman, Ultraman, Power Ring, and Superwoman. I wish McFarlane did more of the Build-A-Figures. Well, I'm hoping that, not wish, I'm hoping he does. You know, it's not the end. I'm hoping he does more of the Crime Syndicate characters. But here they are, the 4 for the Target exclusive Starro Build-A-Figure. Like I said, Owlman, Ultraman, Power Ring, and Superwoman. And there they are all together as one. I'm hoping they make the other characters as well too. So only time can tell. But again, I hope they make it. That includes an overview of Power Ring from the Crime Syndicate for the Build-A-Figure Starro. So now on to Starro. Here he is. Here's Starro, finally complete. Again, we got the lower body right here, a lower portion of Starro from Power Ring, and there he is, finally done. I say finally because it's been quite a while. I believe this one came out, well, the first figure, which was, I believe is Owlman. Ultraman. Ultraman was first, and he came out, I believe, like in early this year. And so it took almost a year to complete this figure. But nonetheless, here he is, Starro. He is pretty tall. The reason I'm holding him is because you can't really pose him. I mean, you can move his arms and so forth, his tentacles, but you can't really pose him unless I'm doing something wrong. So if I am, let me know. Leave it in the comment section. How do you pose him? But I can't really pose him, so I have to hold him. But nonetheless, so here he is, complete. And again, really, really cool looking, very tall. And I'll do a height comparison. Hopefully it doesn't fall or so forth. Let's see. There we go, right there. And we'll do a height comparison too. Parallax, so you guys can see in terms of the height difference. And there you go. You can see parallax is actually shorter than the actual right hand or his left hand for Starro. You guys can see the height difference or comparison, excuse me. And we'll do another Build-A-Figure one. Here is Atrocitus. This is the Build-A-Figure for the Blackest Night, and you guys can see the difference in terms of height. And Atrocitus is still technically shorter. Well, if you want to be technical, this is his mainly head right here. So technically, Atrocitus is taller. But if you consider his full extension of Starro's feet or legs, then Starro is a lot taller. And again, I'll just do a little face-off. Unfortunately, I have to hold Starro because his legs are kind of flimsy. But there you go. You guys can see the height difference. Again, he's still taller. And just for height comparison, he is still taller. If you stand up Starro straight, he is taller than the box. He's still taller than the box, just for like an inch. The little tip here is like a little tip of the inch. But just for comparison's sake, you guys can see how tall Starro is. So if you want to see, put him somewhere, just keep in mind, he is taller than Atrocitus. So there you go. That's for height comparison. So in terms of the detail, again, really, really detailed, man. I do like that texture design. I do like how he looks. It's a lot of detail. I'm sure people can customize it, paint some of it, little things right here, the teeth. He looks very, very cool, very detailed. And what I like about it is you can really feel that texture. You can definitely feel that texture for Starro. One thing I did notice you can do too, and I have seen people do, is they actually put a light underneath here. I'm not a customized person, so I don't know how to do that. But some people have put a light underneath here and make that eye pop, which looks really, really cool. But nonetheless, though, very detailed Starro Build-A-Figure, man. I really like it. The only downside is just posing them. It can be difficult. Again, maybe there is some way that I do not know. Like, I'm looking at it, I don't see a way to pose them. I can maybe bend this and so forth, but unfortunately, he kind of goes back to himself. So I thought maybe you can do something like that. Because when I first thought about, like, Starro would be cool, but how do you make him stand? Unless I can do something like this. I don't know. I don't know how to stand him. So if you know how to stand him, let me know in the comment section. But really cool figure, man. A lot of detail on the sculpture design, which I really, really like. The paint, I wish there was a little bit more somewhere on there. Just maybe some blacks, something really pop. Again, very subtle blacks with like dark grays. But nonetheless, so really cool looking Build-A-Figure one. Now, of course, the main question is this worth it? Should you go out and actually try to get all 4 of these figures to purchase and get Starro? I mean, I like Starro. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they made one. Is this really worth it? Yes and no. I would say yes, because it's a lot of detail. Again, a lot of detail. It is tall. If you consider the pointy ears as a part of him, then yeah, he's probably one of the tallest Build-A-Figures. And he's very, very textured. And in terms of the paint, again, you get some purple, light purple, and a little bit dark purple. But is it really worth it? I think it is, man. It's one of those unique, weird-looking Build-A-Figures that, even though it's difficult to pose, I'm having difficulty posing them, it's cool to have. You know, it's one of those things where you can just say, wow, this is... it's ridiculous, but it's cool to have, if that makes sense. And I like it. I really like it. It's just, my only complaint is just the posing. And again, it could be just me, that I don't know how to pose them correctly. There's probably some way to pose them that I do not know. And again, if you guys know how to pose them correctly, leave it in the comment section below. But to me, I'm really, really happy with this Build-A-Figure. I wish it came with some kind of stand. That's the only complaint. But apart from that, it's really cool, man. It's really over the top. This is something that McFarlane would do. Because you know McFarlane would do some really crazy shit. Like he did with the Batmobile. Ridiculously huge, with big tires, big engine, but it works. And it kind of goes with it. Same thing with this. Very tall, very pointy, you know, different Build-A-Figure, but it works, if that makes sense. So, like I said, to me, is it worth it? I think it's worth it. To me, I think it's worth it. You know, it really depends on you, though. Similar to the Batmobiles, it really depends on you. I think for getting the Crime Syndicate all 4 together, you build this, I think it's a fair price, man. You get really cool looking figures, characters that are different than your typical, well, I would say not typical Batman, but, you know, Owlman. Anyway, so, but at least it's some different characters from a different storyline or different universe, I guess. Yeah, different universe. and you build this Starro. I think it's cool, man. I really dig it, and thumbs up for me on Starro. I'm trying to pose him, but he keeps falling. I don't want to hit super win, but to me, Build-A-Figure Starro, thumbs up for me. Over the top, ridiculous, yes. But is it cool, fun, and exciting, and different? Absolutely, man. This is fun. This is one of those pieces where if you see it on someone's like display, you're gonna ask, "What the fuck is that?" And rightfully so, man. Because Starro's a weird character, but you know what? I dig it, and I think McFarlane did a really good job. Thumbs up for me for Starro Build-A-Figure. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with me on this figure? Do you plan to purchase this figure? Or did you already purchase this figure? Leave it in the comment section below. As always, make sure you hit the subscribe button to not support channel, but to keep up to date and watch videos like this. This includes an overview of Power Ring from the Crime Syndicate, Target exclusive. This is the final piece for the Starro Build-A-Figure, and on to the next one.